Good evening and welcome to Channel 1 News Hour on this 5th day of August 2020. I hope you had yourself a very wonderful day today. We have a comprehensive coverage of today's news for you. A lot to talk about in terms of the coronavirus and from Parliament as well. My name is Edward Kabasa. Let us have the highlights. Tracing 75,000 people. Ministry of Health seeking those who have had contact with infected persons. As 671 test positive for coronavirus in the last 24 hours.
So we hope that Kara will have been passed for us now to share. Because if Kara is not passed by the Senate, and the Kara should not be tied to the formula.
Plea for consensus. Governors urge senators to reach an agreement on the sharing of revenue to avert a collapse of services in counties. And on the road to unlock the potential of young people, President Uhuru Kenyatta launches an initiative targeting to empower over 30 million youth by the year 2030. Once again, we do thank you for making time for us this evening. You can interact with us on our social media platforms on KBC TV on Facebook and at KBC Channel 1 on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at Ed Kabasa. Lenso Dingo is handling the sign language interpretation for us this evening. Let's begin. The Ministry of Health is on the trail of 75,000 Kenyans who have come into contact with those who have contracted the coronavirus. The ministry made the revelations as another 671 cases were confirmed from 6,200 samples tested in the last 24 hours, taking the country's caseload to 23,873. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe, who was on a tour of the Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, said the recovery rate of Kenyans is giving hope and the home-based care is proving to be a cheaper option in containing the virus.
COVID-19 patients in the country will be free to continue with their normal life after 10 days of isolation if they do not exhibit any COVID-19 disease-like symptoms. The Ministry of Health says the decision was arrived at after research from wards scientists revealed that within this period, the patients will have a shed of the virus and it will no longer be active for further spread.
We are using the new WHO CDC guidelines. We don't need to retest you if 10 days after your symptomatology, you don't have any fever and you're not using any fever-reducing medicines for the next 3 days. So after that, 10 days plus 3 days, without any symptoms, no fever, you don't need a retest. Because studies have shown that even if you retest you after 20, 30 days, you could still be positive. But you are shedding a virus that is not infectious. So wasting a very scarce resource that has posed a challenge to our country.
To date, the ministry is trailing 75,000 Kenyans who may have come into contact with those already infected with the deadly virus. Speaking during a tour of Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe announced that Kenya had recorded an additional 671 cases of coronavirus in the last 24 hours from 6,200 samples.
633 of those people are Kenyans, while 38 are foreigners. 413 are male, while 258 are female. The youngest is a 3-year-old baby, while the oldest is 94 years old. Ukisikia ati iko familia moja ya watu 48 ambao familia moja iko COVID positive, hiyo ni kusema ya kwamba hii virusi imeenea kila pahali.
Nairobi registered 376 cases, accounting for the lion's share, followed by Kiambu with 112, Machakos 20 cases, Kisumu 16, Kajiado 16, Busia, Uasin Gishu 15 cases each, Nyeri 13 cases, Bomet, Kericho 9 cases each, Meru 7, Mombasa 6, Embu, Nandi, Kisii 5 cases each, Garissa and Tana River 3 cases each, Kilifi, Murang'a, Tharaka Nithi, Trans Nzoia, Vihiga, Baringo 2 cases each, while Kakamega, Nyamira, Samburu and Taita Taveta 1 case each. 603 additional patients have been discharged after recovering from COVID-19, raising recoveries reported since April 1st to 9,930. The new recoveries included some 436 patients who were undergoing home-based care. During the same period, the country lost 3 patients, including 2 healthcare workers, bringing the number of fatalities recorded in the country so far to 391.
As of today, we have 723 healthcare workers, 385 of them who are males and 338 females who have been infected by COVID-19 disease. That is about 3% of the total caseload. The global average is about 10%, so we are still doing relatively well, but we are not going to rest on our laurels because our caseload is 3%.
We have said it for a long time. We have told people that they will take the disease to their parents. We want them not to do it. Some have already. So the only thing we can do now is to urge those who have not, please don't do so.
It is 146th day since the country recorded her first case of coronavirus in March this year. With infection being at the community spread level, Kenyans are being urged not to relent in following the COVID-19 prevention protocols. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News at the KU Teaching and Referral Facility in Nairobi.
The Kenya Union of Clinical Officers now claims the frontline workers fighting the coronavirus pandemic have been neglected, and this might be costly for this nation if not addressed. The union claims health workers are risking their lives to tackle the pandemic, and yet not much has been done to cater for their welfare, with some having gone without salaries for almost 3 months now. The union is now threatening that its members will down their tools in 7 days unless their demands are addressed.
The Kenya Union of Clinical Officers says it is greatly concerned with the continued frustration by the county governments on its members.
Eldoret is a case yesterday when a shop steward, a branch secretary of this union, demands PPEs and allowances payable to him and testing of his workers, he gets suspended.
If you don't train health workers, if you don't give them the right PPEs, when we hit to the peak and they start dying, they will abandon the facilities.
The union claims health professionals in the country are facing a rough time tackling the coronavirus pandemic, and concerned authorities should be mindful of their welfare.
We must come to the table, and we have tried to reach the CS head so that we can get a round table and discuss the challenges, because we are the people who understand where the shoe pinches.
It wants, as a matter of urgency, counties that have not paid health workers their dues to do so immediately.
We have not got salaries paid to any person within the county government, whether it's a medic, essential service, basic service, environment work, and other professionals. Since May, more or less, we can't go on like this. It's not possible. And we are taking action. Work will stop. It's a matter consequential to non-payment.
It has singled out Migori and Uasin Gishu counties it claims are victimizing, frustrated, and even suspending health workers, warning of a strike in the next 7 days.
We have given enough time for negotiation. If that one has not even given you a good reason to ensure that you implement our agreement, then we will down our tools so that we can negotiate while we are at home.
Sentiment supported by the Kenya National Union of Nurses and the Kenya County Government Workers Union. The two unions want counties to invest more on personnel and infrastructure instead of trying to undermine the few who are already overwhelmed.
The infrastructure, setting up of infrastructure, gives them a chance for kickbacks. But you know, when you hire an employee and you pay salary, there's no kickback. I cannot give you my salary because you hired me. You hire me, it is finished. So that's why you can see a lot of effort is going toward the infrastructure.
We want to give a little bit of dialogue a chance, because that is what the tripartite arrangement is all about, to negotiate and discuss. If it doesn't, we have the legal option. If it doesn't, we have a strike option, industrial action. And we'll take all these running concurrently.
They have also challenged counties to ensure the workforce currently battling the pandemic have enough protective gears for their safety.
And to youth empowerment now, President Uhuru Kenyatta says his government is doing everything possible to unlock the potential of millions of talented youth in the country. President Kenyatta spoke as he launched a multi-sector partnership designed to see more than 30 million young Kenyans in education, training, or employed by 2030. In a virtual event, President Uhuru Kenyatta said the program, dubbed Generation Unlimited Kenya, will help equip young people between the ages of 10 and 24 with the skills they need to thrive in the society and world of work. President Kenyatta said offering all young people opportunity will boost the economy, increase the well-being of families across the country, and help meet the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
With the launch of Genu Kenya.
While presiding over the virtual launch of Kenya's chapter of Generation Unlimited Genu at State House, Nairobi, President Uhuru Kenyatta assured Kenyans that his administration will continue investing in interventions that seek to better the well-being of young people.
This is my commitment to the young people in Kenya. We may not know what challenges you will face in the future, but through such programs as we are initiating today, we will continue to be relentless in our efforts to ensure that you are equipped with the skills, the resilience, and the confidence to be productively engaged in the economy and to shape the future of our nation. I urge all young people to seize this moment to become the generation that has limitless possibilities.
Acknowledging that youth account for roughly 3/4 of the Kenyan population, the head of state said his administration's main preoccupation is creation of jobs and sustainable livelihoods for them.
My government has instituted programs, for example, such as Kazi Mtaani, which to date has engaged over 300,000 young Kenyans across the country in community and infrastructure projects. And this is not just helping young Kenyans earn a dignified wage, but also transforming the way we implement infrastructure projects. And we're learning a lot through this program, and hopefully this new way of doing infrastructure or major infrastructure projects will become institutionalized in our country.
President Kenyatta welcomed the launch of Genu in Kenya, saying the platform will assist the government in unlocking the potential of Kenyan youth.
That I welcome Genu as a platform which will enable leaders, partners, and stakeholders to make investments that will unlock the potential of Kenyan youth and the youth world over. With the launch of Genu Kenya, I expect stakeholders to work together and more systematically to equip the youth with the right education and skills to compete against their peers from across the globe and to create a domestic environment for free enterprise to thrive. This, I believe, will not only attract investments, but will also lead to an increase in job opportunities.
Genu is a United Nations youth empowerment program launched in 2018 with the goal of ensuring that young people aged between 10 and 24 years are either in school, training, or employment by 2030. Ben Chumba, reporting for Channel 1 News.
The Council of Governors is pleading with the Senate to immediately resolve the impasse on the revenue allocation formula to unlock the cash crisis currently facing counties. The council chairperson, who is also the Kakamega governor, Wycliffe Oparanya, says the Senate should pass the county revenue allocation using the old formula if a resolution is not found.
County bosses are now pleading with the Senate to come to a consensus on the revenue allocation impasse. The governors are warning that as things stand, counties are almost running out of funds and critical services. At this time, the country is battling the coronavirus pandemic will come to a standstill.
I know it's a very, very difficult time for the health sector combating COVID-19 with health workers' salaries not being paid because of, number one, the usual end of financial year struggles that counties go through.
The governors are of the view that the old formula should be used to unlock the current stalemate. However, should the third generation formula be adopted, counties that are bound to lose should be cushioned against the deficit to meet their already formulated budgets.
If the formula is passed, they should be cautioned, either through a special fund provided for by the national government or the equalization fund. And the CARA should not be tied to the formula. If the formula comes, fine. Then the CARA can use the new formula. If the formula is not passed, the CARA can be passed and use the old formula. So what is important is that the Senate should now pass the CARA as is, using the old formula, as they struggle to approve the new formula.
Oparanya was categorical that counties are facing a cash crisis, saying the 29.7 billion shillings outstanding balance for the month of June 2020 will all be spent on salaries.
How do you say that there's no crisis in counties when money has not been released for 2 months? When people, employees of counties, have not been paid for 2 months, and you stand up to say that there is no crisis?
The governors are in the meantime urging health workers' unions to consider the current stalemate before downing their tools and be empathetic to the suffering Kenyans.
Please remain at work for these 2 months as each county sorts this matter out.
Kamche Menza for Channel 1 News.
By Kamche Menza takes us to our first break. Don't go anywhere. We still have plenty more lined up for you.
Sisi Kenyans, we don't poteza a chance to connect na watu wetu.
Yeah, that's crazy. Why thought you paid the
Undersea cables and telecom providers gave us reliable and affordable data. And we didn't Zuba. We now have close to 40 million internet subscriptions. So umesema ni nyanya ama kitungu?
Wewe umesikia nini?
And our mobile connectivity has helped us spread our biasharas wider.
Kijana mdogo kama wewe unafaa kuna nunua kama hizi, eh?
And now in these times of crisis, our telecom and data networks are enabling us to work from nearly anywhere. While new technologies open up a digital Kenyan economy that will leave no one behind.
Mawasiliano kwetu, nguvu kwako. The Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
You may be in the pit. You do not see how you could get out. But the good news is that you do not have to get by yourself. The Most High God is about to lift you out. He's about to turn the medical report. He's about to free you. He's about to open new doors, bringing new opportunities, new relationships.
Kupata the pit, bonyeza star 811 star 967 hash. Bonyeza star 811 star 967 hash.
Jumapili hii kwenye runinga ya KBC, ungana naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu kuanzia saa 1 hadi saa 2 asubuhi.
Ningetaka nikwambie, our Jehovah God, because the Bible says he is the same yesterday, today and forevermore. He is able to take you to a place of abundance. He is able to take you to Rehoboth in the name of Jesus Christ.
Kipindi ni neno la neema, ukiletewa naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu. Usikose.
My trust is in you.
This is Channel 1 News Hour. Welcome back. Members of Parliament who retired between 1984 and 2001 are said to receive a monthly pension of 100,000 shillings after Parliament voted to amend the Parliamentary Retirement Benefits Law. The Parliamentary Pensions Amendment Bill 2019, which now awaits a presidential assent, was midwifed by the Akiwumi Tribunal in 2009. The move by the National Assembly is in keeping with the recommendation of the Akiwumi Tribunal that the former lawmakers be paid an equivalent of $1,000 each as living pension from July 1st, 2010.
Most of these people, when you see them, the money that they need is basically for medication. Many of them are aging and are sickly, but they have nothing really to even buy medicine.
The Parliamentary Service Commission had previously adopted the Akiwumi report, putting in motion a protracted engagement to increase the monthly pension to 100,000 shillings.
If one was to look at the current, the best terminology, that somebody who was entitled to 6,000 in 20 years ago, what is the current value of that 6,000, right, today, so that they can at least, we can try to cushion them against the vagaries of inflation plus all those things, because they serve this country with honor.
Some current lawmakers have, however, expressed concerns that the passage of the bill is likely to have ripple effects in the public service.
It will create a spiral effect within the civil service, in that if the members of parliament can increase their pension to 100,000, what about us?
The bill presents a new dawn, as it will see former legislators who have been earning as low as 6,000 shillings pocket more. 10.5 million people have been infected by the coronavirus, according to a tally by the Johns Hopkins University. The data also indicates that at least 700,000 people have died from the pandemic and 11 million people have recovered. The United States, Brazil, India and Mexico lead the rise in fatalities.
As the number of COVID-19 related cases continue to surge globally, the United States government is sending senior officials to Taiwan to discuss the coronavirus pandemic and other issues. Taiwan's response to the pandemic has received international praise, but China has sought to keep the self-governing island out of the World Health Organization, causing political acrimony. U.S. Health Secretary Alex Azar said he would lead the delegation to Taiwan in the coming days. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka is holding parliamentary elections that were delayed by the coronavirus pandemic, but with strict adherence to COVID-19 protocols. The pandemic is considered to be largely under control in the country, with 2,834 cases and 11 deaths recorded to date. But officials are taking no chances, as masks are mandatory and voters have to bring in their own pens. Meanwhile, the Australian state of Victoria has reported another record case in coronavirus cases days after it tightened its lockdown measures to curb the disease. A further 725 infections and 15 deaths, including that of a man in his 30s, were confirmed in the state on Wednesday. Regionally, Zimbabwe's Vice President Constantino Chiwenga has been appointed as health minister about a month after the ministry was rocked by a scandal surrounding the procurement of coronavirus tests and equipment. Chiwenga is a former head of the army who led the military takeover from former President Robert Mugabe. Zimbabwe has confirmed nearly 4,200 coronavirus cases, including 81 deaths, but the actual number of cases is thought to be higher. In South Africa, Health Minister says about 24,000 health workers in the country have contracted the coronavirus, 181 of whom have died since the pandemic hit the country in March. South Africa is the hardest hit country in Africa, with at least 521,318 infections, accounting for more than half the continent's cases. And Russia reported 5,204 new cases of the coronavirus on Wednesday, bringing its nationwide tally to 866,627, the fourth largest caseload in the world. Russia's coronavirus task force said 139 people have died over the last 24 hours, pushing the official death toll to 14,490. And finally, Latin America has surpassed Europe to become the region with the highest coronavirus death toll worldwide. This is according to a Reuters tally. The region has now recorded more than 206,000 deaths, approximately 30% of the global total. Brazil, the Latin American country most affected by the novel coronavirus, has now recorded a total of 95,819 deaths as of Tuesday. Mexico, the second most affected country in the region, has recorded 48,869 deaths. The spread of the pandemic has also accelerated in Colombia, Peru, Argentina, and Bolivia.
Frantic search for survivors of the deadly blast is ongoing in the port area of Beirut. More than 100 people are dead and a dozen others are missing after an explosion in the port area on Tuesday. A 2-week state of emergency has been declared by the government in Lebanon.
Rescuers are searching for survivors in the city's port of Beirut, with dozens of people still missing after a huge explosion devastated the port area of the capital on Tuesday. The Lebanese government has announced a 2-week state of emergency in Beirut. The cabinet has also asked security forces to ensure that no one tampers with the scene of Tuesday's huge explosion. Beirut's governor says up to 300,000 people were made homeless after the explosion damaged people's homes. President Michel Aoun said 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate had been stored unsafely in a warehouse for 6 years. Ammonium nitrate is used as a fertilizer in agriculture and as an explosive. Aoun lauded the zeal of the Lebanese, who rushed to the blast location and perimeter and the hospitals to offer support and assistance. The country will observe an official period of mourning for 3 days from Wednesday. The Red Cross said it was working with the Lebanese Health Ministry to set up morgues as hospitals have been wrecked. The explosion comes at a sensitive time for Lebanon, with an economic crisis reigniting all divisions as the country struggles with the coronavirus crisis. Tensions are also high ahead of Friday's verdict in a trial over the killing of ex-Prime Minister Rafik Hariri in 2005. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Ruth Wamboi.
And back home to some good news. A 24-year-old man in Limuru, Kiambu County, has adopted a unique way of expressing gratitude to his neighbors for the assistance they offered him and his family. In a rather peculiar move, Samuel Karanja has taken it upon himself to repair a 4-kilometer Maram road in his village after Arab residents held a fundraiser to cater for his twin sister's school fees. Take a look.
For a while now, this is what 24-year-old Samuel Karanja, a resident of Ngarariga village in Limuru, has been doing. Repairing this 4-kilometer Maram feeder road in the best way he knows how. Not for a pay though. This, he says, is the only way to return the favor to his fellow residents who greatly assisted his family.
Kuwa nikitengeneza hii barabara nikajitolea sababu ya wale walikuja kufanya harambee ya twin sisters zangu wakienda shule. Tulikuwa tumekosa pesa.
The seventh born in a family of 8 says the move by the villagers will enable his twin sisters pursue their education as his parents have been struggling to make ends meet.
Hata wakisoma afu wakimaliza waweze kusaidia wanakijiji. Penda kukutuma hiyo kazi yenye vijana wanaitwa ya kazi mtaani. Lakini niendelee hapa. Ndio nitengeneza hii barabara imalizike.
Area residents have lauded the young man's efforts.
Watu walimsaidia wa kijiji kusaidia harambee ya mtoto yake au sister yake ya kwenda shule. Kana kile kitu anaweza saidia watu wa kijiji ni kutengeneza barabara, kwa sababu hii barabara inasaidia watu wa kijiji sana.
Take akiqualify ama akishahitimu School of Nursing, anaweza akajikuta anatibu wenyeji hii kijiji kwa hii hospitali ya Bilioni level 4 yenye inajengwa na kaunti ya Kiambu. So na kuona kwamba hii barabara ndio fupi zaidi kufikisha watu kwa hiyo hospitali kutoka highway.
They also urge the county government to consider rewarding such devoted exceptional gesture. Kamchemenza for Channel 1 News.
That's really good. Let's take a look at some other matters. A family in Ogwedi village of Migori County has dismissed reports doing rounds in the media that 48 of its members have tested positive for COVID-19. The family, however, clarifies that it is only 7 members who have turned positive for the virus after one of their kin succumbed to the disease a few days ago. The deceased Osoro Ogola, a brother to former Migori County Speaker, was buried on Wednesday in accordance with the laid down COVID-19 protocols.
Burial of the late Moses Osoro, who died of COVID-19 complications, was conducted Wednesday by officials from the Ministry of Health amid tight security. Villagers followed the event from the fences as the hearse carrying the remains of a former employee in the Ministry of Devolution was brought in the remote village of Got Ngoche in Suna East, Migori County. Police cordoned that home, only allowing a handful of close relatives and officials from COVID response team to preside over the ceremony. Initial reports indicated that Osoro died of COVID-19 related complications barely a day after being admitted at a Nairobi hospital last Friday. His 80-year-old mother is also admitted at an ICU after developing complications. Former Migori County Assembly Speaker Gordon Ogola and a brother to the deceased criticized the media for publishing an alarming report about the status of his 48 kinsmen.
We don't know how it works. So that the moment it is heard that one person has it or two people have it within the family, there's that scare that what is going to happen to all of us? Are we going to be wiped out? You see? Other than that, apart from the family, how many people do we interact with? How many people out there who have interacted with some of us who are found to have been positive are spreading it out there?
In the meantime, Kiambu County government intends to spend more than 20 million shillings to equip all dispensaries with enough drugs. Speaking at Karura Kanyungu, where he had gone to commission a dispensary, Governor James Nyoro said the move will bring services to the doorstep of the patients, especially those with non-communicable diseases who are susceptible to the COVID-19 disease.
And we have allocated 20 million shillings ya kununua dawa za NCD, non-communicable diseases, ili hizo dawa ziwe kama hapa. Mtu ya hapa atakui kutoka hapa aende Kiambu. Ukifika Kiambu ukirudi uko na COVID.
And over 1,000 households in Kisumu City on Wednesday benefited from food donations from a local bank to cushion them against the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. The initiative by Diamond Trust Bank targets households within the municipality area who lost their jobs and sources of livelihood since the pandemic struck in mid-March.
Tunahitaji kujenga barabara hapa Kisumu. Tunataka kujenga masoko na kila siku. Na nyinyi mnasema kwamba lazima serikali ifanye kazi. Kazi ifanyike. Hatuwezi kufanya kazi bila pesa.
Finally, Aruiru Best Farm that manufactures energy-saving cooking stoves has appealed to the government to review the newly introduced value-added tax on its products. Peter Scott, the founder and CEO of Ban Manufacturing Limited, says the 14% tax on renewable energy and coke stoves imposed through the financial bill of 2020-2021, which has since become law, is hurting their operations.
A number of years ago, we had lobbied and worked with the government to remove VAT on cook stoves and Jikos. And that removal back in 2015 or 2016 led to a real flourishing of the clean Jiko or clean cook stove sector.
Timothy Kipnusu for Channel 1 News.
Thank you, Timothy Kipnusu, for that report. We are taking another break. Business News is coming up next.
On the next episode,
a lot
lot has been said about the National Youth Service. Granted. But President Uhuru Kenyatta's quest for this institution to be a center that nurtures the youth of this country to serve their nation remains grounded.
The president told us clearly there will never be an NYS3.
Giving opportunity.
Ninashukuru Mungu, without NYS nisingekuwa najua kufanya hizi vitu zenye mnaziona mbele yenu.
Leaving a positive mark.
Yeah, I've been taught to do everything in a garment.
Watch it on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back. Time for business. The much-anticipated merger between Telkom Kenya and Airtel Kenya has been called off in what Telkom CEO Mugo Kibati blames on challenges in securing approvals to complete the deal. Mugo now says Telkom Kenya will focus on consolidating its operations and tapping into new opportunities created by investment in the data business. In light of the new development, Telkom Kenya is recalling workers declared redundant in anticipation of the merger.
Despite a competition tribunal giving the green light for the merger between Telkom Kenya and Airtel Kenya, the planned merger ran into headwinds after run-ins with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and a legal suit filed by Safaricom over alleged unsettled dues. This, coupled by what Telkom Kenya CEO Mugo Kibati terms as challenges in securing approvals for the deal, has taken a toll on the planned merger. In a statement, Telkom Kenya CEO Mugo Kibati said, quote, "After carefully reviewing the available options, Telkom has opted to adopt an alternative strategic direction and will no longer be pursuing the proposed joint venture transaction. This decision has been mutually agreed with Airtel Networks Kenya Limited," end of quote. Kibati says challenges experienced in completing the deal forced the telco to explore alternatives to gain a foothold in the market. Telkom Kenya is banking on the loan project to drive its data business, whose demand has been on an upward trajectory. Kibati said, quote, "Our confidence in Telkom's new direction is further bolstered by the accelerated digital transformation brought about by the recent dynamics of the COVID-19 pandemic that has made both businesses as well as individuals acutely aware of the need to review direction," end of quote. However, the collapse of the merger has come as a relief to Telecom Kenya workers who are facing redundancy. The telcos has revoked a redundancy notice issued to 575 workers a year ago in anticipation of the planned merger. Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
And in other business matters, the easing of COVID-19 related restrictions in July helped power business activity to steeply rise, riding on a surge in customer demand. This saw private firms expand output at the quickest pace in 2 years to meet the increased demand. According to the Stanbic Purchasing Managers Index, this marked the first time in 7 months that business conditions improved.
Business conditions have been deteriorating since December, fueled by a number of factors. Closure of business for the festive season in December was attributed to the deterioration that month. These would worsen as countries confirmed COVID-19 cases that saw local businesses face challenges sourcing key raw materials. In addition, demand for some products waned as consumers focused on protective products. Travel restrictions imposed in Kenya in March worsened the situation, hurting output from manufacturers as well as demand as employees worked from home. However, early in July, Kenya eased travel restrictions, which coupled with the lifting of regional border controls, fueled a renewed improvement in economic conditions that helped generate higher sales as well as sharp rises in output and new business. Export sales were also up steeply as Kenyan businesses saw higher new orders from European countries. Relaxed travel restrictions helped private farms receive inputs quickly as delivery times improved at the fastest rate in 16 months. This pushed up the Purchasing Managers Index to post a reading of 54.2 in July, higher than a reading of 46.6 recorded in June. This was the first since December 2019 that PMI rose above a reading of 50.0, which signals an improvement or deterioration in business conditions. According to the Stanbic Purchasing Managers Index, July signaled a strong uplift in overall business conditions that was the sharpest seen for 13 months. Despite this, unemployment fell further, but at a softer pace in the 5-month run of job shedding, while firms built up stocks in anticipation of higher sales. In addition, business sentiment weakened as the outlook of the COVID-19 pandemic remained unclear.
Funding the youth to engage in agriculture value chain could solve the land ownership challenge that they face and help boost production. Speaking during agriculture grant pitching event organized by the Israeli Embassy, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Muja appealed to financial institutions and development partners to step in and address the funding gap that the youth face.
As Kenya continues grappling with an aging agriculture workforce, the agriculture sector is facing an uncertain future as the youth comprise 10% of the workforce. This is blamed on funding challenges that hinder the youth from participating in agriculture value chain, since they do not have collateral such as land that they could use to guarantee loans. To mitigate the land ownership challenge, financial institutions, development partners, and other financiers have been challenged to offer the youth grants and soft loans to enable them fully participate in the agriculture value chain.
Look at the average age of our farmer in Kenya is 59 years. That is not a very good situation because it's a sign that agriculture could be retiring. We don't get young people interested and trained in agriculture.
Modernizing agriculture through enhanced use of technology, as well as sharing of agriculture information and data, have also been backed to boost production, as well as attract more youth in the sector.
That crop and livestock productivity in Israel is a number of times higher than that of Kenya. It is for this reason that we surely need to strengthen the ties even further to ensure we learn and adapt more innovative approaches and best practice from Israel.
With all the capacity building courses that are being held in Israel by Mashab, by ACAT, it's being part and parcel and the heart of the meeting between President Kenyatta and Prime Minister of Israel in 2016 and 2017. Many projects concern food security and agriculture and management of water between our two countries.
They were speaking during a grant pitching event where 3 agriculture startups won a grant of 1 million shillings each. Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
And across our borders, an ex-engineer for Google's self-driving car unit has been sentenced to 18 months in prison for trade secret theft shortly before he joined Uber. Anthony Lewandowski was convicted for loading more than 14,000 Google files onto his laptop before leaving the firm in January 2016. Details of this and other stories in our International Business News Roundup.
Former Google employee Anthony Lewandowski filed for bankruptcy in March this year because he owes $179 million to Google's parent company, Alphabet, for trade secret theft. In his ruling, the judge said billions of dollars in the future were at play, and when those kind of financial incentives are there, good people will do terrible things, and that's what happened. Lewandowski, who was a founding member of Google's self-driving car project, had been hoping for a 12-month confinement at his home. He said he had pneumonia and could die of coronavirus in prison, but the judge said a non-custodial sentence would amount to a green light to every future brilliant engineer to steal trade secrets. Elsewhere, Virgin Atlantic has filed for bankruptcy in the United States as the global aviation industry feels the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. The UK-based airline is seeking protection under Chapter 15 of the US Bankruptcy Code, which allows the foreign debtor to shield assets in the country. It is the second Virgin-branded airline to struggle this year after Virgin Australia went into administration in April. The move comes less than a month after the company said it had agreed a rescue deal worth $1.6 billion to secure its future beyond the coronavirus crisis. Finally, South Africa's diamond industry, famed for sales the world over and supplying gems for the British Crown jewels, is looking closer home to revive its fortunes following the coronavirus slump. Even before the COVID-19 pandemic, diamond prices and demand were weak. Global economic weakness has exaggerated that De Beers unit last week reported a plunge in earnings. Some of the many small players who polish the rough diamonds that De Beers and other miners and others say they have been pleasantly surprised by the extent of lockdown jewelry buying as enforced proximity kindled romance and feel-good spending. South African cutting and polishing firm Nungu Diamonds said its custom-made jewelry sales have grown 60% since South Africa imposed a strict lockdown in March.
Hamjambo wa Kenya wenzangu, mimi ni Mheshimiwa Mize. Ninalotaka kuambia ni kuwasihi ya kwamba corona iko, na ili tupigane nayo na tuishinde. Ukikohoa, tafadhali kama una ile ya kujifunika ile tissue, weka mkono hapa. Kama ni chafya yako atyo na itabakia pale pale. Kama ni kukohoa yako koholea hapo. Na nakwambia tukizingatia sheria na tuitii, hii corona tutaishinda na nchi yetu tutarudi kama kawaida.
The Elephants of Ivory Coast gave quite a fight, but they could not match past the Pharaohs of Egypt, who are made to sweat before lifting their 5th Africa Cup of Nations trophy.
It's failed by the goalkeeper, and somehow he survives, but is the ball going to go in? It finally does. The good man for the job, I'd say, and he's done it. Egypt, for the 5th time, are African champions.
We revisit Cairo this Saturday at 5 p.m. with the final of the 2006 Africa Cup of Nations, only on KBC Channel 1.
Time for sports. Mwingi West Member of Parliament Charles Nguna has argued that Kenya is not ready to resume sporting activities. Nguna says it will be risky for sportsmen and women to resume the activities as the country battles the coronavirus.
Kenyan sportsmen and women have not been spared the effects of COVID-19 as they have gone months without allowances, prize money, endorsements and contracts with sportswear firms. And as a horde of sports enthusiasts in the country continue to call for resumption of sporting activities, Honorable Charles Nguna, a member of Parliamentary Committee on Sports, has said that Kenya is not yet ready to resume the activities.
We know some of our athletes, even they don't have transport means to go to the training venues. We know some of them interact on daily basis with the community. And it is quite an expensive affair if at all we are going to meet all the strict requirements by the COVID-19 rules. And I think we may exercise that, but still, I doubt whether our athletes actually will obey the COVID rules here. They go to training, but they use public means. That is wrong. They go to training, and after training, they interact with the community.
Last month, An advisory committee was set up by the Ministry of Sports to draw up protocols required for the resumption of sporting activities in the country and is expected to hand its report to Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohammed. The committee developed a detailed questionnaire to collect views of the stakeholders, including sports people as well as support personnel. Frederick Muoki for Channel 1 Sports.
The Africa Hockey Federation has announced that this year's Africa Club Championship will go on as planned despite the effects of the coronavirus pandemic. The Federation released a revised calendar for the year. The Africa Club Championship will be held from 30th November to 5th December in Malawi, while the Indo-Africa Cup will be staged in Durban, South Africa from 25th to 27th of next month. Kenya clubs have qualified to feature in this year's club championship include men's teams of Butali Warriors and Kenya Police, while Blazers and USIU Spartans qualified in the women's category. Winning the Europa League would be massive and a big step forward for Manchester United, says coach Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. United resumed their Europa League campaign tonight when they take a 5-0 lead into the second leg of the last 16 tie with Austrian Lasks. Solskjaer believes a first major trophy under his leadership will spark a successful era at the club. Meanwhile, 3 other matches will be played tonight as FC Copenhagen will lock horns with Istanbul Basaksehir. Shakhtar Donetsk will battle it out with Wolfsburg as Inter Milan face Getafe. That's where we end matters tonight. We do thank you very much for joining us for this edition of Channel 1 News Hour. You can stay up to date with the breaking news on Twitter at KBC Channel 1. My name is Edward Kabasa. My sign language interpreter has been Lensa Odingo. On behalf of the team here, we do thank you very much and have yourself a very wonderful night ahead. Abin Muchuma Odim is here next with the weather forecast.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to Channel 1 Weather Updates. I hope you're well. My name is Irene Mchuma Odim. We are looking towards a sunny Thursday here in the capital. But before we get into the nitty-gritty on that, the whole country is currently covered with partly cloudy conditions, save for a few areas in Kisumu, western parts of the country and northwestern parts of the country where there are showers over a few places. This as the lowest temperatures across the country stand at 11 degrees Celsius. That is in Kericho County, and that is how the night will be. Tomorrow, we are looking towards a cool and cloudy day in Meru and Nyeri during the morning hours. There will be showers in Malindi and Mombasa. It will be sunny in Lamu, similarly in the northeastern parts of the country, Mandera, Garissa, Sololo. There will be wet conditions over the western parts of the country, but then these will be limited to Eldoret and Kitale, also a few areas around Lodwar and its environs. In the afternoon, we'll see change in weather patterns, in particular over the western parts of the country. These are showers accompanied by thunderstorms in Kisii, Kericho, Eldoret, Nakuru, Narok, also a few areas over the northwestern parts of the country. The northeastern will continue to experience sunny conditions, similarly to the coastal strip, and also for you in Machakos, Makindu, Voi, Taita Taveta County. Expect sunny conditions to prevail. The highest temperatures across the country stand at 34 degrees Celsius. That will be in Mandera. Nairobi will experience highs of 24 and lows of 13 degrees Celsius. That is how weather patterns are shaping up in the home country. Let's now cross the borders and have a look at the international forecast. Do have a good night and see you tomorrow. God willing.